Hello and welcome to episode 61 of Nintendo Therapy, a show about the latest Nintendo news and rumors, as well as a celebration of all things Nintendo. My name is Kevin, and with me this week to talk about surveys and patents and the Virtual Boy, so you know it's been a slow news week, is Harrison.
It's been a slow news week because when we're talking Virtual Boy, we're not even talking real news, and I would like to start there.
Well,
Kevin, how about? Yeah, go ahead.
before we jump into that, Virtual Boy related, I finished Wario Land on Virtual Boy. You remember a few weeks ago I told you I started that. So it's kind of funny timing that this happened. So I finished Wario Land, and you know what my final playtime was for the full game? I 100%ed it. An hour and 45 minutes.
Oh,
So that is a short game.
th-
I'll
they
admit I
have
did have to look up where some of the treasures were, but still.
they have the playtime on the game.
When you finish, like after the credits. Yeah.
That's that's interesting. It's like hour 45. You didn't hurt your eyes, too much. Um,
I mean, it's a great game, but like I said last time it came up, it's almost like a tech demo for what the Virtual Boy would have been capable of had they finished it. Because I don't know if everybody knows this, but it wasn't finished. It was basically like, look, we sank enough money into this thing and it functions. We're releasing it, is basically
right,
what happened to the Virtual Boy.
right, and like look at where we are now with the technology and think back to what year was it released.
I think 95, I want to say.
So so yeah, just consider that because like we're just like they're still very much trying to figure out what to do with headsets. Like I won't even just say VR, just like VR, AR, anything that has to do with a headset, they're still kind of figuring it out. But for anyone who didn't see it, why don't you tell them what happened this week with the Virtual Boy?
So Nintendo did was it Nintendo that did this? Who did this?
Yep,
It was actually officially Nintendo. I forgot to
yep.
check that.
It,
So
it, it was
Nintendo
absolutely.
officially, they punked us. They played a little April Fool's joke, and it's so perfectly timed, I have to say, because they know everyone's in a fever right now for Switch 2 announcements. So it's almost like they were playing on that. Well, it's definitely that they were playing on that. uh, and they made like a fake little reveal trailer for the Virtual Boy Pro, and it basically was a Switch, a Nintendo Switch that you could wear like a visor, like a Virtual Boy, and it was a April Fool's joke, obviously. Perfectly timed though, perfectly timed with everyone so excited for Switch 2 news. I'm sure it it definitely fooled a handful of people. I'm sure.
It's so stupid. Like it doesn't look too far off from like the Nintendo Labo, like
Yeah.
something like that that you would wear. But the whole trailer is just ridiculous. How she just like the lady, she's like puts down the Switch and then she just picks up the headset and just puts it on.
Well, to tell you
And
the truth, like what the part where you could see the Switch, the what is it called? The home screen, where you could see the home screen, and it was like in that augmented reality, like the that what are those Apple visors called?
the Vision Pro.
Yeah, so it looked like the Vision Pro. Basically, you got like the menu there, but you're looking at the real world. Um, that actually made me think for the first time. I never even thought about video games in that thing, and I'm like, we're probably not too far off from something trying this, like within the next 5 years.
Well, I mean, they already did it with Mario Kart. What was it? What was that called?
I mean, is like launching this as like a system, like
Exactly. Yeah.
this
Yeah.
being like the full idea for the system. We're probably not too far off from, or at least being a feature of a system.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty. Those AR glasses that they've come out with, where you can plug your Switch into your AR glasses, and you can like sit on an airplane and have this huge screen in front of you. I think that's super.
PlayStation VR 3, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's super cool. Like some there's a few things that have come out recently, like MetaQuest 3, or there's a few things that I've seen where it's like the technology is getting there, and now it just needs to get cheaper, and it will. Um, so the trailers and the trailers they included for the Virtual Boy Pro were just hilarious. Like I included they had like they had Luigi's Mansion 4, and she's just vacuuming the her
Yeah.
living room with the headset on. She's doing Mario Kart, where like Luigi pulls up next to her, and she's just in her Toyota, but she's just like an AR, but she's just in her Toyota, like as if like you would actually like drive your car wearing your VR headset.
Well, didn't they have that with when Tesla was able to play Mario Kart or something? I remember seeing a lot of videos of that. So it's not too far off.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, I, I was on vacation this week. I saw that. I thought about you. I saw that.
Yeah, and there's a whole article that goes along with it too, with a lot of like funny jabs at the Virtual Boy. It's a good time. They did a good job with April Fools this year. They didn't just, make a fake Mario game or something. They went all out.
It's nice to see. Like I included in our notes too that like it's nice to see Nintendo understand their consumer culture, because their consumers are weird. Like we're weird people, you know.
Yeah.
Like they included like the Froggy chair from Animal Crossing. I'm like, yes, like
Oh, one of the
they actually do listen to us.
one of the games in the hub was Link's Korok catcher,
Oh my
which
god.
I would imagine would work like Pokemon Go, but but wearing the augmented reality. Like they didn't even need to show it. They just needed to have it in the list of games, and I'm like, I totally know what that would be.
Could you could you imagine playing a game that bad? Like, could you imagine just like having a game where like all it is like they're just Koroks, they're just popping up in your room, and you're just like pointing at them and just hitting A, and like that's your game. That
You
game would
found
be
me.
horrible. Like we don't need any more Koroks, man. Like we've got enough.
So yeah, that was basically. Oh, and another thing I did this week is possibly give up on ever finishing Turok 2. Um, I wanted to mention this because I've always heard of people getting nauseous while playing games, but as I've never had this experience. I've never gotten car sick. I can ride roller coasters fine. I tend to have a pretty good inner ear balance or whatever it is. So it was really weird this week. I was playing the fourth level in Turok, and there's something about that level. I think it's like there's constant earthquakes happening in the level and it shakes the screen. It really made me nauseous. And I'm like, I don't know if I can finish this game. So Turok 2 is on hold. I'm on level 4 of 6, and I don't know if I'll ever finish it. I'm going to have to try it maybe in little chunks. I'm going to finish this game. I got it for Christmas, whatever year it came out, like 1998, and it's been hanging over my head ever since. But man, did this thing make me sick playing this level this week.
Yeah.
Have you ever
Well,
experienced that?
uh, Doom or Quake, yes.
And you know what? They're similar.
I've heard that. I've heard a lot of people say that about Doom.
Yeah, they're similar engines. The similar little hub action there. And yeah,
Right.
the earthquakes were just making me sick.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Speaking of which, like my ears, I think are okay. I've had them checked a bunch of times, but I do have vertigo. Um, I have certain like triggers that will deal with it, like flying, like I did this week. So where I was, this week they had a drone show. It's about to be the Thai New Year next week, and they had a drone show which I've never seen before. Like all these drones like light up and they move in the air together, and it's amazing. It's incredible. But like when I saw it, I remember I looked up and I was like, oh God, like I gotta like just look straight ahead for a while because like for me like if I go outside I can't look like straight up in the air without getting like really dizzy. So luckily like my girlfriend's there and I just like hold on to her for a while and then I calm down. But um yeah, yeah, my dizziness vertigo not from video games but definitely from some other things. Oh, and lastly, Kevin, I would just say that for me, finishing a video game is whenever I say I'm finished. So, I, like, and I had to accept that. I had to accept that pretty recently, where it's like if I'm playing a game, if I'm 90% done, if I'm halfway done, if I'm 5 hours into it, and I'm just not, if I don't want to play it anymore, then it's finished to me.
Yeah, I used to be really bad at being a completionist and having to do everything in a game. If I spent the money on it, I was like, I spent money on this, I'm gonna, do all of it. And then I've gotten better at it, but I still feel like I want to reach the end credits of almost everything I play. And it's just something that I don't know. I don't know why video games have that kind of hold over me, but there's just something about it that just bugs me. And like, if I give up on Turok 2 at this point, I'm gonna be like, yeah, but you never finished Turok 2, Kevin. And it's like, who cares if I finish Turok? Am I ever even going to meet a person I can talk to about Turok 2? It's never going to come up in my life. So why do I care so much that I got this game for Christmas in 1998 or whatever year it came out? And I had a lot of fun with it as a kid. We played multiplayer a lot, but I never finished the story mode. So why do I care about that? Why?
I mean, it's fine to have those intrinsic goals. I think video games for more people should be just more intrinsic. Like I get so frustrated when people try to like trash talk other people about video games. It's like who cares? I don't even want to be good at video games sometimes. I want to be good at like other things in my life, But
Yeah.
like,
Yep.
and to me, like if you're enjoying video games, like if it's bringing the joy like it brings to me, um, then you don't really need any of that other stuff because for me, like on a usual playing day, I'm like very excited to play whatever I'm playing that day. Usually, so that's all I really need. But I'll tell you, I'm gonna play Adventures of Link this year, and if I do not finish that game, whatever. Like, like if I don't finish the second Zelda game, hey, at least I played it. At least I tried.
It's funny you mentioned that because I've been listening to a podcast on, I'm going to get the name wrong. I think it's called the Mighty Switch Club or something like that. And they do kind of like what we do with the Spotlight, where they are playing the games that are on the Switch Online service, but they do it in a much different way. It's like a bunch of podcasters come together and all do a full playthrough of each game. And anyway, they were playing that game. They were playing Adventure of Link. And that got me to thinking that I know I beat that game on the Game Boy Advance, but I'm like, how did I do that game without save states? It's so difficult at certain points, and I don't remember what the save situation was on the Game Boy Advance version, but I'm sure it didn't let you save like every 2 steps. Like it sounds like you need to from what I'm hearing. So I don't know how I made it through that game, but I know I did.
Yeah, I feel the same way about the original Zelda.
I've beaten it. I've actually finished that one in pretty much every Zelda game multiple times. It's just all the other times I beat it, I know I use save states. So the Game Boy Advance one is the one that I'm like, how did I do that?
Uh,
But yeah,
Super Switch Club, I believe, is the name. If I'm
yes,
shouting out the right one, Super Switch Club. So shout out to them. Okay.
they're good. Check them out. Um, so yeah,
Let's get into some news.
let's do that. So the Mario and Luigi series might not be dead after all. It's still alive in Nintendo's memory. So there was a survey that was sent out that acknowledges the existence of the Mario and Luigi series recently. Um, and I don't know, do you know who got this survey? I don't remember seeing that in there, but
No, so from what I read, it was sent out like it seemed like it was sent out pretty randomly. And the good news is, I mean, I think the good news for us is that there was no like real like incentive for this. Like, so Nintendo has sent out like surveys in the past that are like fill out the survey in 7 days and you get however many points on your account. There is nothing like that for this survey, so it was information. It was just they're looking for information and that's it. So I think that's a good. I think that's good news.
yeah, so it's mostly about the various Super Mario RPG series. So they ask about Paper Mario, they ask about Super Mario RPG, most likely because it was just re-released, and they actually ask about Mario and Luigi series, which is a series that they often kind of don't talk about in the same conversation as the other two for some reason. And it's really weird because they did a re-release of Inside Story, which we mentioned on our episode of Mario games that are missing from the Switch. Um, and they liked that game enough to do a re-release with like a bonus game attached to it, and I know that game has a huge following, that particular one, but it doesn't seem like they have any plans to go forward with the series. But who knows what they're gauging with this survey. um they ask that they have all of the games in one question and ask which is your favorite. That's one of the questions. The first question is just basically asking if you're aware of all three series. Like, do you know, that's kind of an indicator of where they're at with this. It's like, do you even know? Do you even Nintendo guy? Do you even do this? They're asking if you know that all three of these series exist. Um, and they did a crossover game too. I just remembered. Paper Mario and Mario and Luigi crossed over for oh, what was that game? It was on the 3DS. But whatever. They did a crossover game. It's
It's
not very well reviewed. I haven't
it's
played
not
it.
it's not Dream Team. No, that's Mario Luigi. I'm just looking through. They included 6 games in question two. Which one of those is your favorite? So they include Super Paper Mario, Paper Mario Color Splash,
Paper
Mario and
Jam.
Luigi, Superstar Saga, Mario Luigi Partners in Time, Mario and Luigi Bowser's Inside Story, Mario and Luigi Dream Team Bros. Which one is your favorite?
So Paper Jam, by the way, is the crossover one. So it's got Paper Mario with Mario and Luigi.
Which is included. Okay.
Of these, I haven't played Superstar Saga. Oh wait, yes I have. Sorry. I haven't played Partners in Time, and I haven't played Color Splash. So with that in mind, I'd say Super Paper Mario on this list is my favorite. Is that all of them? I'm looking at the picture right now.
They
Yeah.
included those 6.
Yeah,
Which
it's
okay.
almost like they were including the weaker links in the Mario RPG canon, like of the duds.
It's like question one. Have you heard about Mario RPGs? Yes. Question two. Which one of the weird ones have you played? like,
Yeah, because
yeah.
it's weird that like Bowser Inside Story is in there because, like I said, I know that one has a big following, and I think Partners in Time was averagely received, like it's like a B plus reputation. Um, so but the others are like you said, like the odd ones out. Like maybe they're mentioning Super Paper Mario because they've got Thousand Year Door coming out soon, and they're trying to gauge interest in that. Mario Color Splash, I've never heard anyone say anything nice about that game, so it's
Yeah.
interesting that that's there. um, yeah.
Features, I won't read through them, but features was number three. Which one of those seems interesting to you? Because it's kind of interesting how they lay this out, like the options they give us.
Yeah, collecting new gear or accessories to become stronger doesn't sound like a feature. It's just kind of like how games work. Like especially an RPG game.
Right.
Uh, Exploring new worlds and places. I would answer, I think honestly, funny dialogue and humorous atmosphere, that one's more important than people realize, because that's
Hmm.
what saved Origami King for me. Is Origami King is hilarious. It might not be the best game in the world. Sure, the combat becomes something you can completely ignore at a certain point of the game, which is not good, but the dialogue kept me going through that game. That game is hilarious.
Oh, for sure.
Um,
I mean, if Mario RPG isn't cute and silly, I'm not playing it. It's like if
mhm.
it's like if it's just like dull or trying if it tries to be too serious, chances are it's not going to work. I mean, given the characters that are in that game. What else?
I like that the last option is none of these, as if somebody's like, yeah, I've heard of these games. Yes, this one's my favorite that you listed. I don't like any of this stuff though.
I mean, I mean, they give like 12 options.
Yeah, I know, and some of them are so basic you almost have to choose at least one. But um, I don't. I'm not too like. I don't care too much about having a unique graphic style. Like if they released 4 Paper Mario's in a row that all looked identical, I'd be fine with it as long as they, had a gimmick that went along with each game that made it different. Um,
Well, let's we'll keep going down the list. Like if you go like 10 down, this is like the 10th one down. Following an adventure and an engaging story. That's just like
yeah,
that's just RPG. That's just an RPG game. So it's exactly what you said. It's
I
um,
think what they might be getting at there though is so I can't remember which ones. Again, I'm not so much an expert on these. I'd like to be. My
only a
plan is to
fan.
replay more of them. Yeah, just a fan. My plan is to replay more of them. But uh, basically, a criticism I've heard of Paper Mario and any Mario RPG in general, except for Super Mario RPG, is that there's a few of them, not just one, that don't really have much of a story. It's kind of the cliche, like Peach got kidnapped and you're going to go to all these places, collect these MacGuffins, and, like a Mario game.
Right.
And so maybe they're gauging whether or not, because some of them do have an in depth story, some of them don't. So maybe they're gauging whether or not people care about that or not.
And some people have TikTok brain. Maybe I don't really know. I mean, I know for a fact that like there are some RPGs that I like a lot that talk too much. So I would say that. So that's a bit different. Yeah. So they mentioned new characters and familiar characters in the features, and then um, the next question is: do you generally prefer the new or familiar characters? And they refer to Gino and Mallow from Mario RPG in that question.
And
So
honestly, I don't know how I'd answer these questions because Gino and Mallow are the type of characters that, I mean, I've been playing that game since 1996, so they're familiar characters to me. They're not new characters. So it's like, over time any new character is going to grow on you. But at the same time, I really don't know how I'd answer this. I love when the Mario RPG games, especially like Paper Mario, when you end up with like Koopa Troopas and Goombas in your party, and I love that type of stuff. I love when Bowser joins your party in Super Mario RPG. So I think I prefer the familiar characters, but I don't know.
I well, I don't know is option four. That's the last option. So that might be you. I'd put option two. I like both new and familiar characters equally because I mean at this point I've said many times I just want them to take more risks. I want more IPs. I want more new characters. And if they come out with a character I don't like, yeah, whatever. You know, whatever. Like it's not like they used like Gino and Mallow and like a bunch of newer games after that. Like it's fine. Like I think we don't need maybe new Smash characters, but I think we need just newer characters, newer ideas.
Hmm. And then
So
there's the
I put both. Yeah.
then there's the combat question, and there's one option I know I definitely don't like is I don't like when an RPG has a time limit that forces you to think fast about the best course of action. Don't like that. Like if I'm playing an RPG, it's like I want it to be like a chess match and not speed chess, regular chess. I just want to be able to plan out a strategy and let it go. I feel like Final Fantasy X is like the perfect balance of that
Mm.
because it like I don't know if you played it. There's a there's a thing to the right of the screen that shows the turn order. So you can perfectly plan in Final Fantasy X how to make the battle go. And I've always I don't know I've always loved that combat system. I love RPGs as turn based, and I like to be able to plan everything like it's a match.
I'm on that end. I don't play Final Fantasy. Uh, I, when playing Pokemon, when it's based on like your speed, I
Hmm.
like that as well. So I don't think I have as much of an opinion about this one. I actually when I look through all the combat, I'm like, yeah, like all of this, it all sounds good. Companions fighting alongside Mario, yes, definitely. Mario fighting alone, sure. I don't know, like increasing the power of your attacks and defense by the correct quick time events. Like that all sounds fun to me. So I don't have much of an opinion on this. Just
Hmm.
yeah, I think it all sounds fun. So just I guess in summary, any kind of recognition, anything from Nintendo that's like, hey, we didn't forget. Like if you're a Mario and Luigi fan, like we didn't forget about these games, and we're just asking questions. We're not doing anything right now.
Yeah, and it's a series that it's a series I'd sorry. It's a series I'd love to dive further into. Um because like I said I've wanted to play Inside Story, and I played the one that's on Switch Online already, and I like what I saw, but mainly with Mario RPGs, I know Paper Mario and obviously Super Mario RPG. I haven't done much of the Mario and Luigi series because I wasn't doing a lot of handhelds back when it was coming out. So yeah, they that was during my slower Nintendo years. So if they re-release this stuff or make it available on Switch Online somehow, I'm gonna be all over it.
I would not be surprised if we see a lot more handheld re-release remasters in the next generation. I mean, we're seeing that on the Switch this year, so I would not be surprised.
For sure. And oh, I saw your note here about if about the Nintendo Power Survey in 2007 about Wii demos.
Oh
Um,
yeah, I forgot about that. Oh yeah, did you remember that?
very, very vaguely. Like I do remember it reminding me of the like I used to get PlayStation Magazine, and that would come with a demo disc every month. And I still have some of those demos somewhere in the attic.
Yeah, I Yeah, so Nintendo Power it was called Nintendo Power Sweepstakes in 2007, and they released a survey that mentioned indicating your level of interest of playable demo versions of Wii games. And did they mention, they don't mention Virtual Console, but it's like, are you interested in having free demos of your games? I mean, are you gonna say no to that? I mean, are you gonna say like, I'm not interested? Like, I'm just gonna, I'm just, like,
The
I'm not
demos
interested.
definitely work. No, you're right. Like I am all on board for Mario versus Donkey Kong now, which is a game I would have skipped if it weren't for that demo they put out.
If it's free and you don't want it, but other people could have it, why would you be like no? Like no, those other people shouldn't. Like it's such a stupid survey, and I think part of the reason why it became popular among like online forums at the time was that it was kind of weird and kind of stupid. Like, and it was Nintendo Power. Like they're a, as far as gaming journalism was at the time. Like I mean that was pretty huge. I
Mhm.
think it would have been I mean, we would have been talking about it on this podcast if we had a podcast in 2007. Like we would have been uh, if social media was the way it was back then, we would it would have made a lot bigger news. And I'll include a quote from a Yahoo News article in reference to this, just to close this up. While downloadable demos of for full Wii games might be tough to cram onto the Wii's puny 512 megabyte of built-in memory, a demo disc in Nintendo Power seems like an idea whose time has come. Dot dot dot. 10 years ago, uh, some things never change.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't know if those official PlayStation Magazine demos sold any games for me, but they definitely sell me on virtual console stuff, so yeah.
Definitely.
More demos. Um and then there's this patent news, which is kind of interesting. If anyone struggles with the wires in the back of their Nintendo Switch, Nintendo filed a patent for basically that part of the Switch where you plug in your HDMI and power outlet and stuff in the back. They filed a patent to make that something that can turn, making it easier. I don't know if it does make it easier in these patent photos though, because there's still the same like exit point for the wires. So if it's pointing straight up, I don't know how that's going to help you much. You see what I'm saying?
Uh, like the first picture shown.
Yeah.
The first picture has an arrow, so it's showing that it's in the middle of a swivel. So basically, it
Yeah.
would.
But what I'm saying is if you point that, oh, you're saying like you would just point it either left or right.
Right.
Okay.
So the idea is that it's in the pattern. It rotates 180 degrees. I don't know. I think I don't know if that's just rotating it clockwise and counterclockwise or just clockwise. It's irrelevant. But basically, it would give you the option to have easier cables come through on the left side or the right side of your dock. Um, and it's an extremely detailed patent. And I read through a lot of it, and for things that are this specific, like it's interesting that like they file a patent for this sort of technology, which I'm sure like PlayStation, Xbox, they have like their own ways of managing their own cables. Um, but what I would like to see, because I mean this, as far as like the Switch's physical design, I hate the back of it. I hate like the back of the dock. Like it's just the plastic is horrible. The wires don't fit. I wish they would give us an option to like make the wires shorter, or like it swivels, right? Like what if it could swivel and it could wind your cables at the same time? Because what I ended up doing is just zip tying behind my monitor, because you can't really fit a lot of cables into the back of your dock. There's just not a lot of room back there. That's what I would want.
Yeah, and you have to wonder if this is going forward something they're just thinking about for the Switch 2 at this point. Who knows? It's all, or the Virtual Boy Pro, you know.
Right.
One or the other.
Right. But I mean, if we saw if Switch 2 was like an upgrade, like the 3DS version of this gaming console, none of us are going to be surprised, right?
No, that's fully what I expect, is
Yeah.
just a more powerful Switch with maybe some slight aesthetic differences.
I, and some quality of life improvements, just more things, just living in that generation. And
Yep.
if this is just, and if it's something that's aesthetic or helps me manage my cables better, I'm always down for that. Like, because that drives me crazy. How about your cable management, Kevin? Is your cable management pretty good?
Yes, but well, my wife's cable management is really good. She's one of she can't stand seeing wires, so she's made sure like, our TV wires go into the wall and come out at the bottom the way, you do. They've snuck into the wall there and that type of thing. So I don't know, she's all about that. I never really cared, but my wife makes sure we don't see any wires.
Yeah, drives me crazy. I don't know why. I don't know why.
So our spotlight game this week, two of them. We decided this off air last week, but we figured, we might as well, since we're never going to finish with the Switch Online library, we should knock out any similar games when we have the opportunity. And I wish I remembered this when we were doing Mario Tennis, but we'll call a mulligan on that one. We'll get
Yeah.
to the Mario Tennis on Game Boy at some point.
Even the mulligans are never mind. Never mind. I'm interrupting.
Yep.
Go ahead.
So this week we are reviewing both Fire and Ice or Fire and Ice, you could call it Solomon's Key 2, which leads to the other game we're doing, Solomon's Key. So yeah, let's get into these. I wanted to start with Fire and Ice just because it's the game we drew and it's technically a prequel, although
It was
I searched
second.
high and low. I can't figure out how it's a prequel. Did you figure that out?
I don't know. Like, I don't understand. I don't.
There's not a lot of story to Solomon's Key.
There's not a lot of lore. Like, it's just no. I didn't figure out why. I just watched a lot of videos of people telling me it's a prequel.
Yeah, but I can't figure out what their reason is.
I can't figure out really why, and I don't understand a lot. Like, apparently this is like has references and inspirations from like D&D, the Bible, Greek mythology, or Roman mythology. I mean, so yeah. So we started Fire and Ice, released second. It's the prequel. Comes out of Solomon's Key. It's basically Solomon's Key 2.
Yeah, it was released in March of '93 in North America, January '92 in Japan.
Oh my god!
And it's a puzzle game, and I gotta say, I really liked this game. I mean, I liked it more than I expected to like it. Let me put it that way. Like, it's not in my top 10 or anything, but I had a lot of fun with the puzzles. It's got great animation for an NES game. The aesthetics are really cool. I thought it definitely looks like a late stage NES game for sure. Coming out in '92, the Super Nintendo was out at this point, so they knew how to get the most they could out of an NES cartridge.
That's the first thing that stuck out to me. It's like if you showed me this game, and I didn't know about this game really, but if you like show me this game and I didn't know it, and you were like, "What year is this?" I would say like '93. I would have said or something, because it seems like Nintendo. around this time figured out like, okay, we got this cute color palette and this cute art style, and we just gotta like go for it. Like that's the direction it's going in, because it's very much like SNES, like the Mario games at the time.
Yeah, there's like
Yeah.
character animations, like when your character dies, he like does that little, I don't know, like there's actual animations to these characters. It's not just a flat like face change or something. And the enemies are all like animated too and do a little dance. Like you said, the color palette is really inviting. It's just, I don't know. I really like this game. It's hard to come up with a lot to say about a puzzle game because it's like I liked this game. The puzzles made me think. You know what I mean? Um, I did have a lot of there were. It did take an adjustment period to just try to figure out what the rules were. I
Mhm.
don't know if that happened to you, but there were a lot of times where I was like, why can't I make ice here? Why can't I make ice here? But I figured it out eventually. And if you haven't played the game, that's basically all the puzzles. The puzzles are you make blocks of ice to put out fire, and you got to figure out how to get the ice where it needs to go to put the fire out. That's every puzzle.
Get the key, get to the
Mm-hmm.
door. It's easy. It's easy. All you gotta do is get the key and unlock the door. That's all. That's all you gotta do. Uh, I I found that the second I found that Fire and Ice, I'll say it that way, has some big quality of life improvements from the first one, which is great to see on games that are so old at this point. Like I really like the fact that if you get stuck at a level or you need to like reset, you can just go back right away. You can like go back very easily. But I'm not sure if I like that I'm not sure if I like that there's no time limit on here. It's like Fire and Ice, I could sit for like 30 minutes and like try to figure something out and not figure it out. Whereas like Solomon's Key, it's like you got these lives and you got to figure it out. And if you die, um, you have save states and everything, but like you die. So I'm not sure which one I like more.
Both of these games reminded me, and we haven't drawn these in the randomizer yet, so we're getting a little ahead of ourselves, but both of these reminded me of the Adventure of Lolo games. Have you played any of those?
No.
Okay, so it's a very similar, I don't know how to describe it, but just a very similar puzzle solvey game where like single screen puzzles, I guess is the way to describe it. Like you're not exploring a dungeon, you're not going through a side scrolling Mario level. It's like you've got one screen that exists in a square and you've got to solve the puzzle in both examples.
Yeah, I was trying to think if this reminded me of anything I've played. I don't think so. I think as far as like arcade puzzle games from this time, I think I haven't played a lot of them. And Solomon's Key was inspired by Lode Runner. Have you played any of those games?
I've played Lode Runner, but like I said, the closest thing I would compare it to is Adventures of Lolo. There were three of those games, and it just a very similar concept. If you boot it up after this podcast and go take a look, because that's on Switch Online too, you'll definitely see the similarities.
Uh, Also on NES.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I know Solomon's Key was inspired by Lode Runner, and then like I looked up the Lode Runner series and realized like there's like at least a half dozen Lode Runner games on Nintendo systems. So
Hmm.
it's just like I'm just like what am I doing sometimes? Like am I reading things like
Well,
because like yeah.
one thing that I thought was interesting is that this is, you keep saying it's on Nintendo systems. These both started as arcade games, and these are not the type of games I think of when I think of arcade games. I know it was a thing, but I never really played any puzzle games at the arcade. My arcade days were like Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat fighting games, or like side scrolling The Simpsons, Turtles in Time, X-Men type games. I wasn't or like the classics, I would think of like Pac-Man or Galaga, like Defender, that type of thing.
Sure.
I don't really think of solving a puzzle like this as an arcade game. That's a foreign concept to me.
Yeah. But it's 1983. It's Japan,
Hmm.
and it's pretty fascinating when you. I forget what game we did recently, but when you get into like the arcade numbers, like throughout like the regions, like if you look at Japan and Europe and America in the 90s, how like Japan was more into like fighting games at the time, whereas America could be more into racing games at the time. So it's pretty interesting. I wasn't around in 1983. I mean, 1983 was a long time ago. I mean, so long ago, Kevin. 1983. Could you imagine? Very, very long ago, right?
Yep.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding with you. Um, uh, but, but, but yeah, it's a. I lost my point. This game is also ported to Solomon's Key. Was also ported to the Master System in 1988. Yes, and it was also ported to the Famicom Disk System in January 25th, 1991. Which, if I ever collect vintage video games, I want to have one of those one day. I think those are so cool. Like the little like floppy disks you get, and the little like with the games, and the little like pamphlets that you get. Very, very cool.
And we should mention also that there was a third game in this series on the Game Boy, which seems like it's just a remake of Solomon's Key. It was called Solomon's Club for Game Boy. It's interesting that that's not on Switch Online. I can almost guarantee that's coming someday.
Right, and they could do. They have Monster Rancher Explorer, which was also released by Tecmo in 2000 for Game Boy Color, which is a Solomon's Key inspired game, but with Monster Rancher characters. It looks pretty cute. I watched some of it. It looks pretty cute. I don't know. I never played Monster Rancher, so I guess if you if you like those characters and you like that game, I don't know.
This is another one of those games, though. Two pet peeves I have where I've mentioned it in previous games we've played. I don't like when you have to double tap forward to run, which this game doesn't do. But my other one is I don't like when up is the jump button. And
Right.
it's especially weird in these games because A and B, if I remember correctly, seem to do the same thing. So you could have made one the jump button.
Right.
It's
Right.
really weird.
Exactly. And I'm always doing it. Like it's just like a muscle memory thing. I mean, Nintendo makes jump like way too many things. Like Breath of the Wild came out, and jump is now the X button, like because it's the top button. So, uh, yeah, I don't like that either, and I don't like not having that option. This game, especially the first one for me, it has like you have to like. There's a lot of things where you're on like one block, and you have to like move in a very, very certain way, to which I wish I could just use the A or B button to jump. Did you know that you could do up A B at the end screen to go back?
No.
I did not know that because I was using save states, and I didn't know that until uh, it was pointed out to me that it was possible. So if you get the game over you can press up A B and you can skip the levels you already did. Didn't know that. And
Yeah,
then
there's a lot of
what
those features in this game because there's also the ones to unlock like extra levels when you finish the game. You can add like 50 more levels to it.
because you need 50 more levels in this game.
Yeah. So yeah, where did you decide to rank these games? Because talking about overall satisfaction here, I'll go first actually. So where did I put Fire and Ice? I liked a little bit more, and like I said, I liked it. Wasn't exactly a top 10 title, but it's still in the list of games I liked. I put this one in between two Super Nintendo games. It's below Donkey Kong Country 3, but above Kirby's Dream Land 3. So breaking up the trilogy enders there. I got Fire and Ice right in the middle. And then and that puts it at rank number 24 on my list. And then Solomon's Key I was not as big on. I put that down with Dig Dug 2. It's right below Dig Dug 2 at number 46 on my list.
You're really different. Wow.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Like that's very different for games that were very very similar. Okay. All right.
I just really didn't. I don't know. Maybe it was just maybe the aesthetics are everything, and the visuals won me over on Fire and Ice, but was not a fan of Solomon's Key.
Um, I think I went about this a different way, which is the great part about doing this list. I put Solomon's Key at 34, Fire and Ice at 35. Uh, I'm 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 not sure which one I like more. I do think even though I'm putting it lower, I think I like Fire and Ice more, but I would put Solomon's Key above it because hypothetical, it would never happen. But if someone was like, "Which game should I play?" I'm going to say Solomon's Key. Like if you're
Okay.
gonna play one of the if you're gonna play one of these games, I say play the first one. So, with that being said, I'm going to rank it a little bit higher, but I ranked it pretty low. But I can't like when I look at games like Dynamite Heady, Sword of Vermilion, Earthworm Jim, even games like Golden Axe, Musha. Like I can't rank it above games like that for some reason. Even though it's a puzzle game that has a ton of content in it, like it has a lot. Like you could spend a lot of time playing this game. So it ranks pretty low for me.
One could argue you could spend too much time playing this game.
Yeah, it ranks pretty low for me, perhaps because of my interest level. Like I I don't need to be searching for a puzzle game. There's plenty of things that will, you know, if I have the desire, there's plenty of games I can play that will fill that. So, just basically, it's not a game that I would go back to, but I think it's a very nice game that should 100% be on the online service.
And speaking of that service, let's figure out what else on it we're going to be playing next. Classic. Okay, so this is a game that I said that this was going to be my thing when it came out. You remember all those different things where I latched onto them as a teenager and I'm like, this is going to be my thing. I'm going to be the Jet Force Gemini guy. And I thought, like, I'm going to follow every Jet Force Gemini game. If they release any comic books or cartoons or movies, I'm going to be all about it because Nintendo Power hyped everything up to make you think that everything was going to be that kind of tier. And Jet Force Gemini just kind of came and went. So, yeah, a game I've 100%ed in my teenage years, but probably not going to do this week. There's a lot of cool cheat codes. I don't know. Have you ever played Jet Force Gemini?
Only a little bit. So I'm excited to do this one, and you're
I know a
gonna.
lot of random trivia about this game, so I won't even have to do a lot of research this week. That's good.
Yeah. Save it. Save it.
Yeah,
That's for next week. Save it.
gotcha. So if you want to hear that, tune in next week. In the meantime, if you made it this far into the podcast, prove it by writing Jet Force Gemini rules down in the comments section. And there's only comments on Spotify. And keep in mind that we are Nintendo fans, not Nintendo experts. So we might have got a couple of things wrong, but if you want to tell us what we got wrong, we got an email address, nintendotherapypod@gmail.com. We're at Nintendo Therapy on Twitter. We have Nintendo Therapy on Reddit. We've got Nintendo Therapy all the socials. And if you search us on a social and we're not there, email us and we'll get there. So just to talk to you specifically. So yeah, that is our show for this week. We'll be talking about Jet Force Gemini next week, maybe some more Nintendo news, maybe some rumors. Who knows? Maybe they'll really drop Luigi's Mansion 4 and it won't be a Virtual Boy Pro game. We'll see. We'll have to wait and see. See you next week. Boom.